Hi guys, Min Kim at Min Kim Colorist here with L'Oreal Professional and Salon Centric, showcasing French balayage and French gloss for all of you joining us today. So my lovely model is actually the after shot of the French balayage technique that I'll be showcasing for you on Selena just behind me. And this is actually her mom, Bon. And what I really love about the placement for this French balayage is that it's really about making those pieces pop where it matters. The mastery is in the placement. So we're talking about those signature pieces around the face and along the hairline. So what we're gonna do right now is use a milkshake shade, 10.21, 6 volume, and I'm just going to quickly put this on, starting in the back. So what I really love is the creamy consistency, and it's just going to add a tremendous amount of shine and also help to resurface the hair, which is really a beautiful thing because it has a treatment-like quality, which my clients are obsessed with. So I'm doing a brush application, and the 6 volume with the Dia Light is really going to add the tone and shine all over, but the tone is really being deposited onto the pre-lightened hair. So that's why I'm grabbing large sections and just carefully working through, carefully but quickly, in large sections. And I'm working vertically just so that I can get the application on quickly, working from the back to the front. And we have 13 beautiful milkshake shades that are really wonderful for customizing that color experience. And I don't know if you guys know, but it's the 110-year anniversary of L'Oreal Professional. And one of the things that we really talk about is how to customize that color experience so that when we talk about having color that's created in the salon, it's something that only you, the professional, can create. So I love how there's free online education that we're offering like this today. But sometimes you get people that think that they're really good at being the kitchen beautician, and they try things out at home, right? So by having these elevated steps, it's another way to guarantee that they come back to see us in the chair, not only because they love our technical skill and the fun time they have while they're sitting with us, but also because we have the ability to make these minor shifts. So each time Bon comes in, I could shift up the tone by changing my formula. So maybe next time she might be a 1032 or a 903. There's so many options where it's really about having that customized experience starting from the consultation, okay? So again, this is Dia Light with 6 volume. And if you're not familiar with our milkshake shades, they're at a level 9 and 10. And depending on which developer you use, I like to use the 6 volume on highlighted hair because it gives me the most amount of control. So it's a slower deposit, which is ideal for highlighted hair. And if we're looking to get more deposit quickly, then I would go to a 9 or a 15 volume. So it really allows me to customize the experience that I'm gonna have and also have control over the way my products work. And that's one of the things I love about partnering with L'Oreal Professional is that it really gives me all the options that I need in my toolbox to create a customized look that they're gonna come back to, see me time and time again. And you can see how beautifully this goes on. And I do like to use my hands when I'm doing my Dia Light application because I can really feel when it's saturated. And if we're talking about doing something that feels more elevated, I work in a salon on 5th Avenue called Butterfly Studio Salon. And I work there behind the chair 3 days a week. And one of the things that we do is use a brush and bowl application. So for a salon in 5th Avenue, this is another way to help elevate it. And I'm still able to get the color on really quick, but also master exactly where I'm putting it. So I started in the back, and I'm working to the front. So with the milkshake shades, they sit for 2 to 20 minutes. And with Bon, I left her a little bit more golden so that when we do the 10.21, which is an iridescent and ash, it'll help to really neutralize and beige out this color result. So something that L'Oreal Professional did in the last year was they surveyed the top colors and asked women, what is it that you love about these colors? And the thing that they realized and they discovered was that what women really want is neutralized multitonal colors. So that's why the marriage of French balayage and French gloss is perfect, because we're able to add the custom touches by having the placement of the highlights where we want it. And then we can also neutralize the results with our given milkshake shade. So this is something that takes me, if I did this at the sink, it would probably take me a minute to put on, right? If I do it at the chair, it would either be on towel dried hair, or if she really wanted to have an elevated experience, we could towel dry it more. So depending on what your ultimate goal is and how you're running on schedule, right? So you can even see how this side is starting to neutralize, and where this piece I just put on, you're starting to see that shift. So again, it's designed to work on pre-lightened hair, which means that it will not touch the natural base. So I'm just going in and finishing my application. And I'm able to see and really feel whether this is on, smooth and saturated. And I also like to start in the back, because by the time I get to the front, I can pull all these pieces away. So again, this is something where they can see that it might be more difficult if they're trying to recreate these colors at home. But just these little touches are things that make it a little more difficult for our kitchen beauticians to recreate, right? Give me some hearts if you guys have had kitchen beauticians that come in, trying something out that they saw, and then they figure out that it's the most expensive mistake ever, right? So, Bond is gonna sit for 5 minutes with the 10-2-1 6-volume Dia Light, and the goal is to neutralize some of her leftover color. Bond is my ideal client as far as the guests that I'm gonna see in the salon. We actually started off, and Brian, can you cue those pictures? This is what we would call a new look with the La French philosophy, meaning that Bond is someone that's gonna be in my chair every 3 to 4 weeks to get a root touch-up. So just because she's in there for that root touch-up does not mean that she can't get a customized look. So by adding highlights around her perimeter and low lights behind, I'm able to work multiple colors. So between the base color that was done, and we're gonna flash that formula on the bottom of the screen for you, but it was a Inoa base with 20 volume, 3/4 8.0, 1/4 of 8.3, and a 1-inch line of 7.31 with 20 vol. I also melted through some lowlights, which were Inoa 10 volume, 8.31, and then the highlight was Multi Techniques powder with 30 volume. So this goes on at the same time. She probably sat for about 10 minutes after the processing time for me to get the color that I wanted. And again, the goal was to create a multi-tonal finish, and we're neutralizing that blonde with the Dia Light. So this is something that you can do in a single time slot and really give that customized, bespoke effect that makes everyone feel special, because each time they come to see you, you're going to have a consultation and talk about what are the differences that you can create in that visit to make it feel more unique, okay? So Bond's gonna go, and what we're gonna do now is have you process, and we're gonna bring you on at the end, and we'll show you what the after is. Thank you very much. And now let's bring on Selena. Perfect. So Selena is my main muse, and you guys, I'll just show you. This is what this side that I'm about to show you looks like. So again, we're talking about French balayage, really customizing and making sure that those signature pieces are popping in the right areas. So with long hair going into spring, summer, we're talking about the pieces that pop around the perimeter, around the hairline, and also around that part. So it's a combination of single, double, triple, and multi-points throughout. And the lightener that I'm using is Multi-Techniques powder with 30 volume. And to make my life easier, I'm just gonna section half of her hair out of the way. Okay, and she has lots of hair. And what I love about La French is just the idea that, you know, if we think about Parisian women and that modern, effortless chic, it's not about everything looking like it's super, super done. It's kind of creating that mystery around what's different and what's so special that I'm loving and noticing. So we're talking also then about horizontal negative space. So I'm gonna turn this around. We're used to talking about negative space living vertically in between the highlights. I wanna show you how negative space that lives horizontally can really give you that effortless chic look that we're talking about with La French and French balayage. So the negative space increases as you work farther away, but this is also what's true with natural sun-kissed hair. So what I love about having Selena and her mom, Bon, as a model is that they're getting the same technique, but it's going to help accentuate and really bring out the best in both of our ladies. So there's a mass appeal. It's not just for our first-time clients, it's also for our clients that we see on a regular basis. And I don't know about you guys, but often I think those are the ones that we neglect. So if we can think of ways to customize the experience so that they feel special every time they come to see us, it's just another way to increase that professional difference. So I'm getting myself ready here. And I really like to make sure that when I'm working at the perimeter, I start my point closest to the side that the nape is. And you can also notice that I'm starting with a really soft, feathered application at zone 1, and then as I transition into zone 2 and 3, I go a little bit heavier. And then also notice that I'm directing the hair where it wants to live. So I'm holding it down because at this part in the head, we don't want to over direct. Otherwise, if you guys look, when you drop this piece, it does all this bushing underneath, which disturbs our work. So really soft, elegant. There's a smooth transition so that regardless of if it's done in one sweep or in multiple, and if you could close in on this, you can't see where the brush points picked up. Everything looks like one smooth piece. So if you see the stop and goes in your application, that's exactly how your result is going to be. So it's one of the things that I love about working on the road and traveling all around the world and seeing the amazing work is that the education that we're investing in ourselves is 100% showing. Because I remember the first balayage class that I did years ago, not that many years ago, but years ago, y'all were kind of a hot mess, I'm not gonna lie. I was a hot mess when I started, right? So now the quality of work has been so elevated that I really wanna talk about the ways to make this more unique for you. So I like to work with landmarks around the hairline. So I use the same landmark on the other side. This way I'm able to create symmetry. So even if French balayage is chic and effortless, we still want it to be symmetrical and beautiful so that when it does grow out, they can maintain it at their leisure. So if I have my clients set up for a touch-up appointment every 3 months, I set them up in between with a French gloss. So one of the things that I love about it is that it gives so much shine and makes the hair feel better instantly. So it's actually a new service that I offer in the salon, and it's called a treatment color or a treatment highlight. So I started noticing that because of the fact that trends are showing much more neutralized colors and tones, almost all of my highlights really needed a French gloss. But you know, it can be really hard when you have 14 clients a day to talk about that French gloss and how you're charging X, Y, and Z. So it just became an easier conversation in the salon for me to offer a treatment color or a treatment highlight where my Smart Bond and the French gloss is built into the price. So whether or not they need it, right? Need it meaning we want to do some kind of a tonal shift, or if they just want to have the shine. Because I have clients that also come in and literally they're just asking for the shine benefit. So that's when I would use Clear Dia with 6 or 9 volume, and that also helps to shut down the cuticle and enhance the shine. So no matter what, healthy hair is beautiful hair. And one of the things that we love about healthy hair is the shine that you can have. So with this, if you do something at a level 10 on a blonde, it'll give you a little bit of a tonal shift, right? But if we do Clear Dia even on top, it's just like adding a vinyl coating or like that shine treatment that you do at the car wash, except the hair is a much more elegant canvas than a hair wash. You can notice I'm covering the ends to help enclose. And with longer hair, this is especially important because we don't want the product to dry out before we finish. So one of the things that we can do is to make sure that we are using our plastic to help trap the heat. The other thing that we can do is to make sure that we have enough product. Because a lot of times I hear hairdressers saying that a product doesn't work, and really it's the human element, which is our application. So I'm going to make sure that there's enough product and that we're saturating. And you can see I'm already like more than halfway through her head, right? So I think this is probably like a full head application in 12 subsections. And you can see these little baby hairs aren't serving me, so I'm just going to push them out of the way. Okay, if some of them want to come back in, that's great. But I also love to use these crux clips because they don't leave marks in the hair, and also it's lightweight. So I can use it to hold those hairline pieces without getting in my way or falling. Okay? So I always smooth the hair with my 2 fingers. This way, if I feel any tangles, that's 100% going to affect my application as well. And when I pick up the product, I pick up a small amount, especially when I'm working on the hairline. So you can imagine, if I went in with this much product to do the hairline, would this affect my result in a positive or a negative way? I don't think it would be that cute, right? And we want it to be as cute and fun and sexy as possible, right, Selena? Mm-hmm. She's like, girl, don't put a glob on my head. So even here, I'm just going to keep going over the lightener until it spreads lightly. And this looks like I'm taking a pretty broad piece, but because everything is really feathered and soft, it's not going to give you like a very horizontal regrowth. And that's the whole point with French balayage, is to give you something that's going to be very low maintenance, effortless, and also that grows out super well, right? I like the fact that my clients get compliments, whether they're walking out the door that day in the elevator, or whether it's when they're coming back in to get the retouch. And don't be scared. If you have clients that come every 6 months, I'm telling you, my 6-month clients are the ones that give me the most referrals. And that being said, when you set them up, it's also making sure that you have them set up with their expectations so they know exactly what the journey is, right? So a lot of times I find out if they have special events or anything happening in their life. If they do, we work back from that date and plan their appointments around it. So it'll be a touch-up on average every 12 weeks, and then at 6 weeks for a French gloss. And sometimes it's not even color, they're just doing shine. So it might be like a full tube of clear with a little bit of 10-1-2 or 10-2-1, especially in the summer when everyone gets a little bit oxidized. But if the blondes like how light they are, that's one of my favorite recipes to maintain that softness, but still give them that feeling like their blonde's been freshened up, but not enough where people are gonna be like, oh, you changed your hair, right? And this, everything's soft. And when I get to the end of the planchette, I'm gliding that lightener along. So everything here has a nice rhythm to it, right? And you can see the negative space here is increasing vertically as we work away from the face, and the negative space is increasing horizontally also. So this is how we get that natural sun-kissed vibe, right? So that's that low maintenance, I call it that French girl chic hair. It's kind of like they don't care, but they do. They just act like they don't. Sorry to all my Parisian friends. But I do love how this gives you the option of maintaining it as often as you want. So I'm using 30 volume multi-techniques powder from the L'Oreal Professional Blonde Studio. And this is also going to be French glossed, most likely with 10-1-2, and clear mostly for shine. So with Selena, I'm not really looking to do too much tonal correction, but there is a wide palette of shades that you can really customize the finish that you want. So salon-centric and L'Oreal Professional are partnering to give you guys 20% off if you shop in store and online today and tomorrow. So that's 20% off. You know, things don't go on sale around here much, so take advantage. And that's gonna be over the next 2 days. And another really cool thing is that you can sign up for classes at the Academy here in New York City and Huntington Beach. So we'll scroll along the websites for you to join me in New York and all my cool friends. We really do have a super talented network of artists, so make sure you sign up and check us out. And now I'm looking, okay, so this is where we're getting to where that money piece is popping. So this is that signature area that I really want to frame out, but I also take a look at what's happening with their hair here. So really the hair is what's telling me what needs to happen. And Selena is a prime example of what to do with a retouch client. So this is a question I get a lot of times in the field when I'm traveling around is how do you do a retouch? So I always talk about what is it that we want to happen in the future. So if we want to maintain the color, then I would start my piece a little bit further past where this piece started and connect it. If the goal was to make it lighter and brighter and to go more this round, then I would just go over. And again, we power it with Smart Bond, which is how we're really able to achieve the light, beautiful results that we want. So based on the way Selena's hair is cut, I'm gonna do another diagonal section here, which is going a little bit more horizontal because we're getting above the side of the head. And you can see there's a little highlight here, so we'll use that kind of as our little road map. Are there any questions? Do you guys have questions?
Yes, a few of our listeners want to know what brush you're using.
Oh, so this is actually a brush by L'Oreal Professional that we will be launching, I think soon.
The new balayage brush?
The new balayage brush,
yes. We have it available.
So we have that available. And I'm also using a well brush, which is off-brand, and I'll actually show you how this is really hard. So this is why I like to use this for my well brush. And with the well brush, I'm able to really move that lightener around and make sure that it is the consistency that it needed to be. So I really do love the perforated planchette because this is what gives me the smoothing background. So if there's any lumps in your lightener too, I mix mine at a 1 to 2.5 ratio, and that really gives me that control to have that fluidity, especially on finer textures. So Selena, I would say, is on the denser side. Her hair is thick, but it is a little bit fine. So with the finer hair, if the product is too thick, you end up working hard to push through. So this, I bet my big old head went right in front of her camera, right, Arthur? I heard the giggle. So this is a little bit of our classic 2-point application, okay? And I'm just connecting everything. So now I'm going, and I see a couple of other pieces, 2 older highlights kind of living in the middle. So I'm gonna pick up right on that. And see how you can just feather over it and it just smooths everything out, okay? So the goal isn't to squirt toothpaste on the hair. The goal is to really create a diffuse type of effect where we're really just enhancing her natural coloring. And then we'll neutralize this with our French gloss. And really, I feel like it's 100% true. The research with La French and how the most popular looks that were chosen were all multitonal and neutral. So when we're talking about French balayage and the taste of color, I love how timeless and ageless it is. So whether you're someone that's in their 20s or their mom, like Bon, who'll be coming back shortly to show you what that French gloss looks like. This is a color service that has wide appeal. So French balayage started in Paris back in the 70s. And you know, it really has taken off in the late 80s and 90s in the States. I think you guys remember like Sex and the City when Sarah Jessica Parker had that fresh pop, right? So really, it's the more modern version of what SJP had, because now we want something that's still got that pop, but has more of a low maintenance type of vibe that's not quite as in your face. So we're creating that signature piece by adding layers in my application. So I'm actually gonna cut through here and put in one of my signature pieces. And this is also because I'm following along in her haircut. Okay.
Min, what are you lifting her to, and did she start as a level 6?
Her natural base, that's a great question. So Selena's natural base is a 6, and I'm lifting her to a 9. So where we did her application on the other side, that I started actually with 20 volume just because that was on her head maybe half an hour ago. So with the 20 volume, I know that I'm gonna get the slowest amount of lift, and we'll lift it to like that light golden blonde. That way when I do the 10-1-2, it'll neutralize and give me more of that beigey, really beautiful, beachy. Summer, we're here, ready for you. Give me that vacation hair. And that's something I really talk about too when you're describing what the expected result is. I talk to people and let them know that if you imagine what it would be like if you didn't have a job and you could go on vacation for 3 months in a row, this is essentially what your hair would look like if you needed to go back on vacation, right? So again, that's why talking about the vertical and the horizontal negative space is really important. And I'm looking, and as I was gonna grab the plastic, but then I noticed that these pieces are moving. The pieces around the face and the part are super important. So I'm gonna make sure that I protect exactly where this is gonna land by buffering it with the cotton, okay? And then that way, when I do put the plastic over it, it doesn't get disturbed, okay? And then we wanna make sure that we wrap this around. And this way, if Selena was to answer her phone or look and get something out of her purse, her hair is never going to give me the possibility of being sued. Right, so safety first. We don't want lightener. We don't want product ever going in their eyes. So this is a really easy way to ensure that that's not going to happen, okay? So I'm going to get her money piece one more time. And it's really creating that signature hairline face frame. And like I was saying earlier with Bond, it's basically the same exact application, and her highlights, that's another question too. What do you do when you have a global color and you have a highlight? If I have a global color and a highlight and they want something that looks more modern, right? Something that looks more rooted or has a shadowed effect. These are all the key words, and the terminology and the verbiage that we use when we're talking to our guests is super important, because if they're into things like rooted, shadowed, something that has a little bit more of a lived-in vibe, then that tells me that they would be okay with the highlight not coming directly from the scalp. But if they're Mary that you know is going into that bathroom and like inspecting every single hair, that is not the person that you want to do your highlight and your single process in at the same time. But this is also a really easy way to elevate your color and also create that signature look that we're talking about with La French.
What's your favorite formula for the depth on the negative space?
My favorite formula for the
depth on negative space.
On whose face? Oh, a negative space.
Yes.
So I think it definitely depends on what the canvas requires. But at a level 6, usually there's some underlying warmth. So the 6.02 is kind of my faves if I'm looking to neutralize. But one of the things to remember is that the naturals in Dia Light are already neutralizing. So if you add a little bit of ash or iridescent, it's really gonna help to cool down that natural canvas. If I'm looking to add some depth back in and the hair is too light, I really like doing like a 3-4, but it just depends on what your natural level is. But I love that there's so many options between Dia Light, Dia Richesse, Sanoa, Majorelle. There's actually some amazing new color that's coming this year, so stay tuned, guys. I've been teasing it on my page, so if you want to go through, it's at Min Kim Colorist. You can see some of what we've been playing with. But it's really exciting when you work with a company that's been around for 110 years. And I mean, I've actually been in the labs where they make the color, and it's pretty incredible. And there's always this research and technology-driven innovation that I'm really down with. So as a person that works with chemicals, that's why I really made it a part of the services that I offer in salon to have a treatment highlight, a treatment color. And that's really why I love to work with the French gloss. So again, it gives you that really awesome mirror-like shine. It has that resurfacing effect. And I even have clients that are like, wow, this smells really good. What is it? And I'm like, it's your hair color. You're welcome. It's amazing, I know. But again, it's something that we have fun with, and we always have a dialogue about it. So I don't necessarily write down exactly which French gloss I did. That way it forces me to have that conversation with them each and every single time, okay? So we are going into the top, and I'm gonna have Selena just tip her head down because I'm not wearing my big girl shoes. And what I did here also is just carve out some of the hair so that there's more negative space that lives horizontally, right? So this is something that I can even clip this out of the way, as a reminder, right? Especially since I'm working with a profile parting. I did the one side, so as I'm working up, I just want to make sure that whatever's happening on my left side is connecting, but not turning into one big giant bolt on the other, okay?
Min, are you using a clay lightener?
I am not using a clay lightener. I am using our Multi-Techniques powder. That is our 8-level lift lightener. It gives me the most flexibility as a master color specialist at a salon in New York City on 5th Avenue. So it really does help to guarantee that I'm going to get the lift that I want in the time that I require, okay? So now that I'm here, I can see this is where my face frame piece is, and I'm going to increase the negative space that lives within as I walk my way back towards the crown of the head, okay?
Which Dialite milkshake shades are your favorite to use and why?
I mean, I think the go-to for me is definitely 1012, 1021, and clear. Okay, that's 3. I'm gonna throw another one in there. The 911 is amazing, especially for neutralizing, creating more of that silvery shade. But there's really so many options. The 1022 is also great for creating that pastel pink finish. But again, remember guys, you have to lift to the proper undercoat, because if we're not lifting to the proper undercoat, it can't support the tone that we want, okay? So that's why it's really important to choose the appropriate lightener. So we have the freehand powder, which gives us 6 levels of lift, which is also amazing to do if I'm doing like a single process and I'm trying to create some dimensional pieces while that's processing. So if you guys are slow, I would not recommend doing a full head application. What I would recommend doing is doing a couple surface pieces on the top or a couple hairline pieces around the face. And then that way, as the freehand powder works, it encapsulates. So if you see that your highlight is ready, a lot of times what I do is just take a towel and rub it off. And that way you don't have to go back and forth to the sink, but you're also drying up the powder so that it stops lifting when you get to the desired level, okay? So everything that you're seeing here is really talking about La French and the beauty of having the legacy of a 110-year-old company. And don't forget, you can go in-store today, tomorrow, go on to Salon Centric online, and you get 20% off all L'Oreal professional products. So I'm not just talking about hair color, I'm talking about the styling range and the shampoos and conditioners too. So everything's really amazing. But I love that it's rooted in tradition and that we're taking something where, you know, I don't think we pay attention to our bread and butter clients, which are like Bon. You know, she's our lady that comes and sees us the most often. And a lot of times they don't get as much time and attention as our clients that we're doing a fun transformation, right? So if we're able to take the color and create something new and special each time by customizing the French gloss, it's a really lovely way to not only personalize the experience, but also make sure that they're coming in for these appointments in between, okay? So I'm taking, this is the last section right off the part. And I'm not gonna lie, this guy can be a little tricky, right? Because this is how I'm creating that boldness, layering that triangle right above it. But we also wanna make sure that this isn't the spot where I'm putting a ton of product, okay? Oh, and I lied, actually I'm using my Framar brush. Okay. So you can see I'm kind of dancing along that front piece. And by dancing, I mean I'm like tap dancing or doing the ballet, not like stomping or the river dance. So it's a really gentle, graceful application. And this way, we're not going to be bleeding through and creating marks underneath. So when we talk about doing the French gloss or a treatment highlight, as I call it in the salon, it's really because we're doing something because it's what they want. So I love when my clients come in and they're like, okay, what are we doing for our gloss today? And literally it's a conversation about what kind of mood they're in. Do they feel like being sassy and having something that's more visible? Or do they feel more subdued and we're just gonna do a little bit of shine with clear? But it really does make it more of a conversation now, that it's something that is automatically getting done versus having something where, you know, they're not getting it at all. So it's really helped to up my services in the salon, but also remember guys, this is about how to customize your work for that professional difference. So I love what I do, and I love that we're in a profession where we get to make people feel and look beautiful, but don't we want to make sure that we make them feel beautiful each and every time they're with us, not just the first time, right? So it's kind of like dating, right? You put out your best, or you put on your best outfit, maybe you do your hair a little extra, actually I don't know, but maybe that's what you do. And I don't know, it's like after the third date, fourth date, things start to fall apart. Maybe you're wearing, you know, something that's like not your favorite outfit, but this is treating it so that every time they come in, you're really putting your best foot forward as a professional by making sure it feels like their first visit. So that's really one of my favorite things about French balayage and gloss. So remember, I'm using multi-techniques powder with 30 volume. The French gloss I'll be doing on Selena is most likely going to be 10-1-2, Deal Light with 6 vol, right? And that's just because I want to neutralize some of the light golden reflect that I'll be lifting her to. And we'll be finishing with a lovely treatment.
Min, some viewers have noticed that you are going over pre-lightened hair.
Yeah.
Does it compromise the hair at all? Do you have any tips to help prevent that from happening?
So again, the pre-lightened pieces that I'm going over have a golden reflect. So the way that I'm going over, you can see the strands of the hair coming through. So this is actually going to allow the product to dry a little more than in the middle area, where it's going to be a little bit lighter. So I also went from a heavier, wetter application around the face to where it's a little bit drier as we go back. So again, this is also going to play into feeding that negative space that not only lives vertically, but horizontally. So that way, when I do that retouch application, I purposely went over some of these lighter pieces because the conversation that we had in our consultation was that we wanted to go lighter for summer. So if Selena was someone that did not want to go lighter for summer, then I would have avoided going over these pieces. But again, we're following it up with the French gloss, and the Deal Light is amazing because it has resurfacing benefits, it adds a tremendous amount of shine, I can control the tone that I want, but it's also gonna have a treatment-like effect. So again, this is a service I offer in the salon. I call it a treatment color or a treatment highlight, simply because we're pairing that Deal Light service with every single highlight. So again, powered with Smart Bond, this is a really incredible way to achieve the looks that I want to do, but in a healthy, safe manner. So I'm going to cover Selena with some plastic. And then I did preserve some of the negative space in the back of the head with the clip. So you can see that even when she was to part her hair, this is going to have that natural depth in the back of her head, okay? So if I wanted to have more, so if you're new and nervous about having too many highlights in the back, then you could take a larger section. And it could be anywhere, anything from a triangle to a diamond. It also depends on the size of your client's head. So these are all recommendations. on what can work, but just remember to pay attention to the canvas, because a lot of times the hair will tell you exactly what it needs and what it wants. So if you take a look at what's happening, I picked up on some of Selena's older highlights to make them brighter. So this was a choice that I made because we're going into summer. Hopefully it's gonna be hot and sweaty really soon. So when she gets sweaty and pulls that hair back, it's still gonna be really beautiful and bright, okay? Thank you. So I'm actually gonna have you go off. And let's bring Vaughn back. Woo, look at you. Beautiful. So again, remember guys, this is that woman that comes into our chair on a regular basis, and her before photo, the entire canvas was just a clean slate. So we didn't have any brightness around the face. We didn't have that much dimension throughout. So I pulled through the low light just to break this up. And again, when they already have some of that natural oxidation on the ends, by popping in some really well-placed highlights around the face and through the perimeter, we just took like 20 years off of Bond's face. Now that is incredible. All I did was a global color, a French balayage, and a French gloss. And look how sassy she is. Now she looks like Selena's sister and not her mother.